this be the last time I have to restart this video? Hopefully. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name's Nicole and today I am bringing you my wrap up for the 1000 Doors Readathon. So I'm not going to lie to you, I was a bit of an idiot with this readathon. I really wanted to participate, but I left it really late. I even participated in one of the live shows with the intention of starting that day, and then I started a different readathon that day. So in any case, although I left it last minute, I did do some reading over the final few days, like the final weekend plus the Monday. So let's get into them. The first prompt I chose was from Meg's channel, from Meg with Books. I will of course link all the hosts' links down below in the description. Her prompts revolved around memes, and the one that she chose was that's history. I'm gonna try and put it in, hopefully I'll be able to. That's history. But yeah, that's the one that she chose, and for that I made the ridiculous decision for a readathon to read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This novel is 629 pages. Yes, I decided, hey, let's read a 629 page book for a readathon. And I wonder why I didn't get through it. But in any case, it's what I read, and to be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I rated it 5 stars. It's definitely like dated. I think it was written in the 90s, and I think it takes place in the 1980s. So some of the treatment towards women was not the best at all times, but I really enjoyed it. Even though this was 600 pages, I flew through it. It was like, I didn't fly through it in terms of it didn't take me a long time. It took me, oh, okay. So I started reading this on the, wow, that's bright. I started reading this on the 27th of November and I finished reading it on the 28th of November. So didn't take me as long as I thought. So no, it didn't take me that long, but I did stay up all night finishing this book because I genuinely couldn't put it down. So essentially we follow a guy named Richard, and he's recently started college. He decides to go to college in New England, and he's from California, so that's pretty different from the sounds of it. Oh, Vermont. Yeah, it's in Vermont, so pretty different, I think, from the sounds of it. And he really wants to continue studying like Greek classics or take a Greek class because he was really good at it, like at his school in California. But the guy who teaches the subject, Julian, he only takes on like 5 students a year, and so he was initially told no, but then stuff happens and eventually he is let into the class and introduced to all of these other characters. We have Henry, we have Bunny, we have Charles, and we have Camilla, and we have Francis. So those are the original 5, and then Richard joins the class. We didn't hear much about classes. There was some like philosophy and like references to the Iliad and Homer and a bunch of Latin stuff as well. So essentially what happens is, how much do I tell you? So he joins this class, he's very much the new guy. I can tell you what happens right at the beginning, maybe. Should I? I suppose I should. I found it really interesting because where we started off was these group of students murdering another student. And then it takes you back. It takes you back because Richard is telling the story to when he started and how it happened and how they got to that point and why they got to that point, and then you reach the point and then it then turns to like afterwards and what happened in the aftermath and how it affected them and how it affected their friendship. And it was just really interesting. I found it really interesting to start the story at that kind of point because that's, I guess, normally something that would happen way later in the story, and that would be like a shocking moment kind of thing, but you start at that point, and I really liked it and I found it really interesting. I will say that none of these characters are good people. None of them are good people, but I think what I liked about this one is I've read other stories where it was like they're not good people but they pretend like they're good people, and that really frustrates me. But what I liked about this is that they're not great people, like, but at no point did they delude themselves or try to delude us into thinking that they were the best and the pinnacle kind of thing. And it's interesting because it's like they all have their qualities, and I suppose they, especially one of them, thinks that they're better than everyone because they are so intelligent. I don't know, I can't even pinpoint what I liked so much about it. It was so easy to read, and it didn't feel like a slog. Like, I was reading it quite consistently. Like I said, I read it until like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like a breeze, just reading through it and reading about these people's lives and their experiences, and it was just, yeah, it was just really good. And I think after I'd even finished, I went on, again, not great for a readathon, but I went on like a whole like research thing online into like Donna Tartt, into the story, into like, well, what about this or what about that. I think this is a book that I would like to reread, purely because I think this is a book where if you read it again knowing the full story, you could pick up so many more things. And I think what I'd also like to do is read a couple of Greek classics like Iliad and like Homer, because I think it would be beneficial, not in terms of understanding the story. I think I understood pretty much all of it. There were a couple of like of the theories which went a little bit over my head, but on the other hand, I did take, I guess, like philosophy and ethics at school, so I've always had an interest in that kind of thing. But it might be useful to read some of those classics and see if there's anything else like hidden in there and add just another layer and dimension to this story. But I'm just so glad that I read this, and I completely understand why people rave about it now. So because I rated that 5 stars, that door led me to another Meg's videos, and this one was the meme, I'm back!
I'm back!
But for that one, what I decided to do was, I have a few books on my Goodreads at the moment, which it shows that I'm like in the middle of them. And I had 3 books, and I decided to go for the shortest one this time. But again, not the most ideal book, but I thought it could be like, I'm back! Like, I'm returning to a book that I've left currently unfinished, like I'm back kind of thing. And for that I chose The Telltale Heart and Other Tales by Edgar Allan Poe. Please ignore my sticky notes. I rarely like to have my books, but there are just some lines in here which I thought were absolutely beautiful, and there was a point where I was going through and writing what I thought of like each story, and then when I picked it up back up for the readathon, I didn't do that. But because this is like older language, I did find myself like wanting to research the story before I read it, which I know kind of defeats the purpose, but I'd rather do that and then fully be able to appreciate the story rather than not do that and then start reading it and just think, what the hell is going on? I did that, and I'm glad I did that, and I really enjoyed myself reading this. I think the second half of this book, like the second half of the stories chosen, wasn't necessarily as good, I think, as the first half. Like, the first half really drew me in. Like, I'm just going to go through like a few of the notes that I wrote. MS found in a bottle, I wrote, the writing in this is so vivid and beautiful, I like how he plays with words. And that's true. I really liked the way Edgar Allan Poe plays with words, and the writing in that story was so vivid and beautiful and stunning. And I also wrote a note for Bernice, and I said, this was creepy. I can imagine for the time it was written, people may have been shocked. Enjoyable, less wordplay, but creepy. I do remember that one. That one was creepy. The next one was Morella. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to literally talk about the ones that I wrote notes for. So I said, okay, this one is creepy. Really liked that one, but so short. Oh, okay, yeah, I think this one was short, and I do remember this one was really creepy. And I think this one actually ended up, I researched Edgar Allan Poe, I think it was this one, because this is the one, wait, was it this one or Bernice that I researched? There were a couple of stories in here, I don't think it was this one, it might have been Legia, something like that. But I feel like there were a couple of stories in here where he spoke about like marrying his, or the character in the story spoke about marrying a cousin or a really young cousin, and I was a bit like, why? So I ended up researching that and found out that he did, which I keep having to remind myself, different time. It was a different time, Nicole. It was a different time. But still, why? But yeah, Morella I did find really creepy. Okay, so Ligeia. Ligeia I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apparently I didn't like it that much. I kept putting the book down during the story, probably why I didn't feel as immersed at the end. Clearly, I wasn't enjoying that one. Okay, so for The Fall of the House of the Usher, I've just put not my favourite. And William Wilson is the last one that I have a note for on here. And I've said, much better. Is this story about being in competition with yourself and ultimately killing something within you that turns you into something else? So that's what I thought of that story. That was my interpretation of it. And that was the last one I have a note for. But I can tell you right now, I detested this one right here. The Black Cat. I detested this story. It was horrible. I never ever needed to read that. I don't know, like, I get he's supposed to be. The theme that I found throughout all of these stories, I guess, were despair a lot of the time, and creepiness, and not the happiest of endings at all. But I hated that story. I hated it so much. Okay, I have no idea where I got to because I helped my dad bring down Christmas decorations. So I'm assuming I was on this book. I know I was on this book. It's a lot. I went through my thoughts. So I'm in the middle of ranting about something. I think my favourite was Morella, and I think my least favourite was, actually I know my least favourite was The Black Cat. But overall I did enjoy this. Edgar Allan Poe is a creepy dude, or was a creepy dude. Overall I really did enjoy it, and I really enjoyed seeing how Edgar Allan Poe played with language. Finally, we got into the last prompt. That the next one was based on, could I see where the story was going? And I think I said yes, but I didn't mind. Maybe it was either yes or yes that I didn't mind, because I was going back and forth, because it's a collection of short stories, so I know where it's going in that sense. And I think after I read a couple of the short stories, I didn't necessarily know exactly where all of the stories were headed, but I knew, like I said earlier, it wasn't going to be a happy ending. So I think I said if there was a kind of option, I would have picked that. But I think I said yes, but I didn't mind. Which actually took me to Tasman's channel. And that prompt was to read a book that reminded you of Marvel. And for that one, I chose The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. I chose this one because from the back of the book, it described two young girls who grew up almost like sisters but not sisters, and that alone kind of reminded me, or made me think of Nebula and Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers movies, or you know, Endgame. And it described one of the characters we follow in here is Nemesis, and she has been created to protect Sidonia. Nemesis is what they call a diabolic, so she isn't necessarily human. There's actually a big debate on that, on whether if diabolics, the only way I can think to describe this is like have the same rights as humans and be treated the same as humans. That's probably the best way to describe it, because at the moment they're seen as less than human. I really enjoyed reading this. I think I finished this literally by the scruff of my teeth, and I think when I was reading like the beginning half, and I thought, yeah, it's probably gonna be a 3-star book, and then something happened and I was like, what just happened? Diabolic, what am I saying? There was a debate about whether diabolics should be treated the same as humans. I'm not going to say something that happens in this. Like I say, it went from a 3-star to a 4-star. I guess in the blink of an eye. It's really weird for me. I don't know whether that should happen, but it felt very predictable, and I think that's where it was feeling like a 3-star, and then it became very unpredictable, and I was like, oh, this is going in a completely different direction than what I thought it was going to. Yeah, there was the bit, I'm not going to say the bit, but there was something which happened, and the thing that essentially changed my rating, and I sat there for a second. I was like, what just happened? Like, I literally wrote some notes in my phone, and it was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what just happened? Those were my initial thoughts, and immediately afterwards was, oh, she gonna kill you? Yeah, it was great. Another line I quite liked. I know that the matriarch, the mother of Sidonia, didn't really care for Nemesis the Diabolic, but I did like the line, the Emperor wishes me to send my innocent little lamb to the slaughter. No. Instead, I'll send my anaconda. I really like that line. I don't know why, because I know that the matriarch wouldn't really care like that much if she died, but I like the message, or like the insinuation that I'll send my anaconda and they ain't gonna know what hit them. I liked that. And with that is actually the end of this wrap up. So just to refresh the memories, first book that I read was A Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I gave 5 stars. The second book I read was The Telltale Heart and Other Stories by Edgar Allan Poe, which I gave 4 stars, maybe 3.5, but yeah, we're gonna leave it at 4 for now. And the last book was The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, which I also gave 4 stars overall. And that is that. Thank you so much for watching, and especially if you got this far, thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you have any thoughts on the books that I spoke about, I would really love to hear them. I really hope that the hosts do this again sometime next year or whenever, because it was a lot of fun and I do wish I started earlier. But overall, I am actually really happy with the books that I did read. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one on Sunday. Bye!